Why your closet is overflowing, but you still feel like you have nothing to wear. Or why that expensive gadget you bought 6 months ago is just collecting dust. What if we told you there's a whole culture that's figured out how to avoid this trap entirely, and they're not waiting around to start living better? So here's something fascinating we've been noticing. While most of us are constantly putting things off until someday, there's this whole approach coming out of Japan that's completely different. Japanese minimalists have this incredible way of living that doesn't involve waiting for the perfect moment or the right time. They just start right now, today. And honestly, it's kind of mind-blowing when you really dig into it. We're not talking about some extreme lifestyle where you own 3 items and sleep on the floor. This is something way more practical and actually achievable. It's about making decisions today that your future self will thank you for, instead of constantly postponing the life you actually want to live. The wild part is how much this philosophy goes against everything we've been taught about planning, preparing, and waiting for things to be just right. The someday trap we all fall into. Let's be real for a second. How many times have we said things like, "I'll organize my house when I have more time," or "I'll start living more intentionally once I finish this project"? We do this constantly, right? We push off the things that would actually make our lives better because we're convinced there's going to be this magical future moment when everything aligns perfectly. But here's what Japanese minimalists teach us, and this is huge. That perfect moment, it doesn't exist. We're basically waiting for something that's never going to come. Think about it. When was the last time you had absolutely nothing going on, zero stress, and unlimited energy to tackle a big life change? Probably never, because that's not how life works. Japanese minimalists figured this out a long time ago. They realized that waiting for someday is just another form of clutter. It's mental clutter that keeps us stuck in patterns that don't serve us. Instead of looking at their overflowing closets and saying, "I'll deal with that next month," they ask themselves a different question entirely. They ask, why not now? And that simple shift in perspective changes everything. When you stop waiting for permission from some future version of yourself, you suddenly have all this power in the present moment. The philosophy behind starting today, there's this beautiful concept in Japanese culture called ichigo ichie, which basically means one time, one meeting, or this moment only. It's the understanding that every moment is unique and will never come again. Sounds simple, but when you really let that sink in, it's actually pretty profound. Japanese minimalists take this idea and run with it. They understand that today is the only day we actually have control over. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down at work. Today, right now, this exact moment. And when you start thinking like that, procrastination starts to feel less like laziness and more like actively choosing to miss out on your own life. We've seen studies showing that the average person spends about 30% of their waking hours dealing with clutter or looking for things they've misplaced. 30%. That's roughly 4 hours every single day just lost to disorganization. Japanese minimalists look at that and think, why would I wait even one more day to fix this? They're not being harsh on themselves either. It's actually the opposite. They're being kind to their future selves by taking action now. What's really interesting is how they view decision-making too. In Western culture, we often overthink everything to death. We make pros and cons lists, we wait for more information, we seek validation from others. Japanese minimalists, they practice something closer to decisive simplicity. If something doesn't add value to their life right now, in this present moment, then it's pretty clear what needs to happen. No endless deliberation required. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? How do real people apply this no-waiting approach to their everyday lives? Let's break this down because it's way more practical than you might think. First off, Japanese minimalists don't do the whole spring cleaning thing where you save up all your organizing for one massive, overwhelming day. Instead, they practice what's essentially continuous improvement. They might spend 10 minutes each evening putting things back where they belong. They'll notice a shirt they haven't worn in months and donate it that same day instead of letting it hang there for another year. Small actions, taken consistently, without waiting for the motivation fairy to show up. And here's something we found really interesting. Research from Tokyo University showed that people who practice daily decluttering habits spend about 60% less time on major organizing projects throughout the year. 60%. That's because they're preventing the buildup rather than constantly fighting against it. They're not waiting for chaos to demand action. They're taking action before chaos even has a chance to develop. And they apply this philosophy to purchases, which is where things get really practical. Before buying something, they ask themselves if they need it today. Not if they might need it someday, not if it could be useful in some hypothetical future scenario. Today, right now, in their current life. This one question eliminates so much unnecessary consumption. Think about how different your shopping habits would be if you only bought things you needed immediately. No more just-in-case items, no more maybe someday purchases. The opposite of hoarding behaviors. We need to talk about something that affects way more people than we realize. Hoarding behaviors exist on a spectrum, and a lot of us are further along that spectrum than we'd like to admit. We're not talking about extreme cases you see on TV shows. We're talking about the everyday tendency to hold on to things because, what if I need this later? Japanese minimalists take the exact opposite approach, and it's actually rooted in trust. They trust that if they need something in the future, they'll be able to obtain it. They trust their ability to solve problems as they arise. They don't need to stockpile solutions for every possible future scenario. This is huge because so much of our clutter comes from fear. Fear of scarcity, fear of waste, fear of regret. A study conducted across 5 major Japanese cities found that minimalist households had 75% fewer unused items than average households. But here's the kicker. When these minimalist households were surveyed, less than 3% reported ever regretting getting rid of something they thought they might need someday. 3%. That means 97% of the time, letting go of something they thought they might need someday turned out to be the right call.
Why waiting actually makes things harder. There's this weird thing that happens when we put off decisions, especially about our stuff. The longer we wait, the harder the decision becomes. We build up emotional attachment. We create stories about why we need things. That jacket we haven't worn in 3 years suddenly becomes the jacket I wore to that important meeting, and now it's got all this meaning attached to it. Japanese minimalists recognize this pattern and actively work against it. They know that the easiest time to let go of something is right when you first realize you don't need it anymore. Wait a month, and you've probably convinced yourself of 10 reasons why you should keep it. Wait a year, and it's practically a family heirloom. This applies to way more than just physical stuff, too. We do this with habits, relationships, jobs, entire life situations. We know something isn't working, but we tell ourselves we'll deal with it later. Meanwhile, we're spending every single day living with that thing that isn't working. Japanese minimalists look at that and think, why would I choose to live one more day in a situation that doesn't serve me? Practical steps they take. So, what can we actually learn from this? How do we stop waiting and start living more intentionally right now? Japanese minimalists have some really simple practices that anyone can adopt, and they don't require any sort of dramatic lifestyle overhaul. They start with presence. Before making any decision about keeping or discarding something, they hold it and really consider it. Not, might I use this someday, but does this item earn its place in my home today? If you picked up that book you've been meaning to read for 2 years, would you actually read it tonight, this week? If the answer is no, then it's taking up space that could be used for something that actually matters to you right now. Another thing they do is set clear boundaries for themselves. And this gets really interesting. They might decide that their bookshelf holds exactly 20 books. Not 19, not 21, 20. So when they want to bring in a new book, something else has to go. This creates a natural flow where they're constantly evaluating what's actually important versus what's just taking up space. They're not waiting for their collection to become overwhelming. They're maintaining balance continuously. Look, the Japanese minimalist approach to not waiting for someday isn't about being perfect. It's not about achieving some impossible standard where you own 12 items and meditate for 3 hours every morning. It's way simpler and way more achievable than that. It's just about recognizing that today is the only day we can actually do anything about our lives. Every day we wait is another day we're choosing to live with clutter, with decisions we keep postponing, with stuff that doesn't serve us. And honestly, we deserve better than that. We deserve to live in spaces that feel good, with possessions we actually use and love, making decisions that align with who we are right now, not who we think we might be someday. The beauty of this approach is that you can literally start right now, right this second. Look around you. Is there one thing within reach that you know you don't need? Something you've been meaning to deal with? You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need a plan. You don't need to prepare. You can just do it. And that's exactly what Japanese minimalists have been trying to tell us all along. Someday is just another word for never. But today is happening right now.